Hugh Freeze has only been here a year and a half, and he's already put together one of the best Auburn rosters in nearly a decade.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate. We're joined by Auburn message board legend and host of the Top Button podcast, the Charlie 5. We'll talk about, roster needs and what Auburn needs to continue to do this offseason. But I think when you look at it, the entirety of this roster at this point in the 2024 offseason, Hugh Freeze and this staff have put together a roster that I think is the best roster since the 2017 season.
Wow.
Charlie 5. And of course, that 2017 team, they won the SEC West. We're a game away from making the college football playoff. I don't think they're there. I don't think they're that deep of a roster or top heavy for that matter. And I don't think the quarterback production is going to be there. But from top to bottom, I think it's the best roster since that team. So that obviously includes the 2019 roster, which is probably the closest. It's probably the second best roster in that span. And it's the best roster that Auburn will field since the end of the Gus Malzahn era.
So at first, when you threw this out here, I thought, man, this guy's bugging, and I'm digging it. But then the more I really think about it, the more you really think about it and you really go like position by position, you may be on to something. You may be right. I think the 2017 roster for sure is better at a number of different positions. But, if you look at the entirety and you go pound for pound, position by position group, now some of it's not 100% proven. So we're going a little bit off of vibes and potential, but I think I can see the argument. I think I can see the argument that we're better, that 19 will be the closest. That'll be the toughest discussion is 19 because that defense was pretty dang good.
Right. And I think there's parts of the defense where like Auburn from a depth standpoint may be deeper this year than top heavy like 2017 was, but Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson, like they were a problem. They were a problem. On offense, it's not even close. This is what Auburn's offensive line was. And no disrespect to these guys in 2019, but it just kind of shows, wow, we've come a long way. We've come a long way in the offensive line room. But from left to right, it was Prince Tega, Marquel Harrell, Caleb Kim, Mike Horton, and Jack Driscoll. And you compare that to Auburn's offensive line now, I think you can make the argument that some of the two deep would certainly start for this 2019 team if they were on it. So just the depth up front is a major part of it. Wide receiver, I think, is an interesting conversation. We'll spend more time on that in a second. But running back, I mean, that was the Boobie Whitlow and Cam Martin, and then Sean Shivers was a sophomore that year. DJ Williams had a lot of hype, I think, before he transferred going into this season. He was a freshman.
Yep, ran out of bounds with nobody tackling him against LSU.
Wild times for sure. So, I mean, obviously Auburn's running back is way better. Bo Nix was a freshman. Peyton Thorne is not a freshman, and we'll certainly see, what those comparisons will be like as the season goes on, if there is any at all. But the offensive side of the ball, it's by far the best offensive roster since the end of the Gus Malzahn era.
I think I'm right there with you. The offensive line's close because even though there was Prince Tega and there was Jack Driscoll, both of those guys got drafted, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Tega went as high as maybe the second or third round. So like
I don't think so. I don't think that's right at all.
I think he was relatively early. If I could be way off. Driscoll was towards the end, but I think Tega was like maybe a mid-round pick. But I mean, again,
sixth round.
Okay, I was way off.
Sixth round by the Eagles, and then he's won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs, though.
So Tega, you had Tega and Driscoll, both draft picks. But
you're calling him Tega as well. That's bothering me.
Tega, sorry, Tega. There we go. Whatever.
Thank you.
Tega. Got it. It's spelled the same way.
What's the name of the guy Auburn got from Miami, the wide receiver from Miami several years ago? Dazzlin?
Dazzlin. Tega, Prince Tega. Okay. Yep. So I think it's close, but I do think you got at least 2 draft picks. Sure. And if Jeremiah Wright can stay healthy, you may work your way into 3 draft picks. And then if you count Connor Liu, when he gets there,
Yes.
That could be 4. And then Cole Pinkston from On 3 says he thinks Isaiah Miller's the best offensive lineman on the team right now, which kind of blows your mind.
Yeah.
So like, could he be a draft pick? It's close. I think it's a push on the offensive line at worst, but I think this offensive line has the ability to possibly be a little bit better than even that offensive line in 2019. Because you remember, Bo was kind of running for his life a lot. He really was.
Well, and some of that was him leaving the pocket just because he wanted to. Some of that was legitimate, bad flashbacks from that. Tight end, it's not even close. Spencer Guy and JJ Williams. John Samuel Shanker was a redshirt sophomore at that point, and it's like, we'll
was that not Sal Cannella? Sal Cannella maybe too? Was he not?
Well, he had already moved to receiver at this point.
Ah, okay.
You remember that?
Yeah.
He had moved
he
to
is
receiver.
dominant in the UFL though. So like it.
I love that. I'm pulling for him. Friend of the program. Friend of the program for sure.
It could be a discussion there.
Yeah, but then the Seth Williams versus Anthony Schwartz, and then Eli Stove was on there too. Remember Zach Farrar? We were super pumped about him too.
Yeah. Where was he from? Like Youngstown State or something like that?
Something like that. We convinced ourselves. We do this
like
every year.
He was like 6'4", and we just thought he was going to be the greatest.
Yeah, and it's like I think Seth Williams is. I think he was a really good Auburn receiver, and then I think Anthony Schwartz was too. I don't think they used him right, but I'd rather have the receiver room now.
I don't think Anthony Schwartz never caught the ball well enough for me to think that like he was anything other than like a end around speed sweep guy. But he did get drafted. He was a good weapon. I think I take Cam Coleman, Robert Lewis, and KLS. Keandre Lambert Smith over those 3 guys any day.
I do too. Then the defensive line. I mean, Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson. They were what they were. And
that's
then
kind of hard.
Derek Hall was a true freshman that season.
So look, but the thing is though, Keldrick Falk could this is his sophomore year. So like,
could he be Marlon Davidson? Like he could.
He could be as dominant. He could be as dominant, and then you throw in Jalen McLeod. You throw in Jalen McLeod, who's primed to have a breakout season. Could those 2 guys emulate the production that you got or close to that you got out of Derek Brown and Marlon? It's just coming from different positions, coming from different angles. So I think those 2 guys up front could have just as good of years. Maybe not just as good, but they could have just as good of production-wise, just in a different way than those 2 guys. Yeah,
then the 2019 roster from defensive back, it was stacked. Doeg Monogany, Roger McCreary, Christian Tutt was kind of a liability at some points that year. Javaris Davis was a really good player. Nehemiah Pritchett was a freshman. I don't think he played the whole lot. Smoke Monday was an underclassman. Daniel Thomas really came on over the course of the season. Jamie Sherwood, a future
Daniel Thomas got drafted.
So after the season, 100%. But I think there was a lot of depth there. I don't think once we get 8 months from now when the season's over, or whatever, we're looking back. It's like I think we're going to feel the same way about this defensive back room with Keontae Scott and Jaron Thompson, Laquan Robinson, Sylvester Smith. There's just so many names. Yeah, I didn't even get to the corners. Yeah, Antonio Kite. There's so many guys where I think we can look back a few years from now and look back at this roster and be like, man, Jay Crawford was a freshman. Or like, man, J.C. Hart hadn't even played yet,
And Lee's only a sophomore, and he could be drafted, possibly. So it's there's a lot of depth. It's very young in certain positions. Yeah, but they got some similarities for sure.
Yeah, so I think this Auburn roster, the way it currently sits, is the best roster since 2017. I'm going to put it slightly above the 2019 roster. And even if it's close, you said it's a push, even if it's close, Charlie 5, I think that opens the door to some things that we need to have a conversation about. And we'll do that next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Charlie 5, let me ask you a very serious, straightforward question. Have you ever bought a ticket on any app that wasn't Game Time?
The answer is no. 100%.
Why would you want to?
It's not even a lie.
Why would you want to?
I have no idea. I surely don't.
Let me ask you this. Do you like spending a ton of money on tickets?
Negative.
Well, Game Time's probably the app for you. Do you want it to take like 30 clicks and it's a pain to log in and it's a pain to find exactly what you're looking for? Does that sound appealing to you?
Less than 30 clicks is ideal.
Well, at game time,
less.
it takes like 2. It's insane.
Count me in.
It's insane. Do you like getting money off of your first purchase when you use the Game Time app?
I prefer it.
Yeah.
I prefer it.
So go ahead and you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Another serious question for you. Can you imagine using any other sports book other than FanDuel?
I don't even know another sports book. Like, I've completely
Do they
forgot
even exist?
them all.
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. If you want to have a good time wagering all of your favorite sports, just FanDuel is the option. It's the option.
It makes sense.
And right now they're giving away free money. And so like, if it is the only one, they may all be gone because they're just giving money away. I don't know how this is a successful business model.
How are they
I guess it is. Right now, you're not going to believe this. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Hard not to get emotional reading that. All right, Charlie 5. So as we kind of compare the roster as far as impact and talent and depth, and I think there might be an argument that Auburn has a little bit more depth this year than that year. Just want to think back to like what that 2019 team did. I mean, they went 9-3 in the regular season, beat Alabama, and all of a sudden it's like you think about, wow, if Auburn went 9-3 this year, we would all take that in a heartbeat. Is that going to happen? I'm not quite ready to predict that, but I wouldn't have predicted 9-3 going into the 2019 season either. You had a few things go your way, and I think the schedule and the opportunity that's in front of Auburn going into this season is more obtainable than it was going into 2019. And also, the rest of the SEC, like you kind of knew what Gus Malzahn's offense was at that point. I don't think we realized how good that defense was going to be in 2019, much like we really don't know what this defense is going to look like in 2024. But the offense, I mean, the offensive roster, this is the best offensive roster definitely since 2017. Like there's nothing you could do to change my mind on that. And a lot of it has to do with the receivers, but most of it has to do with the offensive line. And so many people are saying, but the quarterback. I get it. But they've done such a good job building around Peyton Thorne where it's all on him. Like if it doesn't work out, you could all point to one dude.
Yeah,
you could all point to one dude in this point because they have gotten him weapons. They've enhanced the depth up front. And now Hugh Freeze is all in on developing the game plan. To me, it's like, I think we need to look at that 2019 team and think about what that roster was able to achieve against a tougher schedule and say, hey,
you took it out of my mouth.
We got a chance. We've got a chance.
Yeah, think about that schedule in 2019. You went to Florida, and I believe they had Kyle Trask, who was a possibly that year was a very good quarterback. Then you had Joe Burrow, LSU, and both of those games you played fairly tight. The defense kind of kept you in it, and you struggled on offense. Right. But you don't have those teams. You just have your Alabama and you have Georgia. And then is Missouri going to be a flash in the pan, or are they kind of who they are? Oklahoma, we don't know what Oklahoma is going to be, but they're not the same Oklahoma they were under Lincoln Riley.
Right.
I mean, you have a vastly more manageable schedule, in my opinion, than you did back then. And if you got that team went 9-3, what could this team do? What could this team do? Could that be a possible trajectory for this team if the rosters are similar and you could get the performance out of the quarterback that you could think you could get with the surrounding around them? I think the defense is going to be pretty good. I really do. I think this defense you're not going to see a drop off at all. Maybe possibly could even be a little bit better than last year. I don't know, man. I'm starting to kind of get excited.
I am too. And one thing you said there that I thought was interesting with Florida and LSU game from the 2019 season, like the defense keeping it close. And that's really been a theme since the 2017 season where the defense has just kind of been able to keep you in it.
Yep.
And I mean, you can even look at last year with some of those where the offense would just stall. I mean, Auburn hasn't had an offensive identity since 2017 and then parts of 2019. And to me, it goes back to like what we actually need this offense to do. Let's assume what you say is correct, or let's even kind of be a little bit pessimistic and say the defense takes a slight step back. I still think they're a top half defense in this conference. I also don't think the defenses are as good in the SEC as they used to be, or maybe the offenses are just better across the board. Regardless, I think Auburn's a top half defense still. And they were able to do this with like having laughably bad passing offenses. And I just can't see that being the case this year. There's a chance that it is, but I don't think there's a chance that Auburn has the worst passing stats in the conference this year. If they do, you're really going to have to fix some things. And I think it's probably a deeper issue than Peyton Thorne if Auburn's last in the SEC. And those are some things you've got to address. But to me, the folks who were critical of Peyton Thorne, and I'm in that boat to some extent, but you don't need him to be the best quarterback in the SEC. Much like in 2019, Bo Nix wasn't there. He wasn't there at all, especially as a true freshman. You just need him to be solid or okay in important games and trust the defense and then trust the pieces around them, which all of a sudden you've got receivers that he can trust to throw the football to. If Peyton Thorne is the 8th best quarterback in the SEC in 2024,
Auburn's dangerous.
Watch out for the Auburn Tigers.
I'm with you. Just don't be a liability. Don't be the reason. Don't be the person that we have to hide the offense, protect. Like, don't be that guy where we have to protect you from making a mistake. Just be average. Just, get close to 200 plus yards a game, somewhere around 65 plus percentage completion ratio, completion percentage, and just don't turn the ball over. I think that if you can have somewhat semblance of balance, which I think you will, with all the continuity that you have between Hugh Freeze, Ken Austin, Derek Nix, and now you add the receivers to the room, you have a legitimate 1 through 4 receiving threat with the 3 receivers we always talk about, and then Rivaldo Fairweather plus the running game. If you just don't be a liability, just don't be just don't turn the ball over, get the ball where it needs to be, and I think you can be a really dangerous offense.
I do too. And so if they can achieve what the 2019 team did, I think there's a lot of comparisons there. We should be good. I really think Auburn should be
that'd be a huge step forward. Huge step forward.
I think you're a year ahead of schedule if they're able to pull off a similar type season. What do you think? Drop it in the comment section down below, or hit us up on the Discord or on Twitter. I'm curious to see y'all's thoughts on this. I put out the question of fill in the blank. Auburn's 2024 roster is the best since whatever. A lot of people said 2023, which means they don't think a whole lot of it. Got a lot of 2019. So that was probably the most common answer. Got a few 2004s. I'm like, and I think I'm booging. Those people are really booging. Got one 1957. It's like, wow. Let's go. Let's go. So I think this is the best Auburn roster since 2017. Would love to hear.
You said in just under a decade, and I was like, is he going all the way back to 2014? Like, oh my gosh, let's get this thing going.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And that's honestly, I'm just gonna be transparent with you. That's the argument I was trying to make. And I was looking at that 2017 team, and I'm like, there's just no way. That team was so good.
Carry On was so good, and then you had obviously Peyton. I'm not Peyton.
We had Cam Petway on that team. Jarrett Stidham
had his great year.
Darius Slayton has been like the only receiver we've had stick in the NFL for a hot minute.
It was a good roster. That was a really good. That offensive line was nasty.
Their corners were Roger McCreary and Jamel Dean. It's like, what?
Wow. Yeah.
That team was stacked, man.
They were stacked. No, was it Roger McCreary? No, it was Carlton Davis, wasn't it?
My bad. You're right.
Yeah, it was Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. Even better. It was that was a really good roster.
Maybe.
Yeah, you're a big Roger guy.
I'm a big Roger McCreary guy. So we'll see. But still, regardless, very good. Very good.
Yep.
All right. What does Auburn need to do to improve this roster over the next week or so? Let's discuss that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Charlie 5, can you imagine using your phone for anything other than playing Monopoly Go?
Not even calling. I just want Monopoly 24/7.
Yep, that's right.
On the go.
That's right. That's all I'm doing. If I'm not working, I'm playing Monopoly Go. That's just where I'm at emotionally and mentally and physically in life right now, and that's okay.
Teamwork.
In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together,
the more you love each other, I guess.
The more you love each other, and the more awesome prizes you unlock.
There you go.
There's so much to get. You can get new pieces to travel boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends. I love taunting you. I love it, and it's best. It's best doing it through Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. Can you imagine playing Monopoly Go and getting bored? I can't.
No,
I can't.
It's impossible.
There's always new timed events to help you win big. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and download it for free in the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Go do it. Go do it. So it appears Auburn wants to add a linebacker via the transfer portal. Khalil Jacobs is, I guess he's taking a visit today. Yeah, that's today. The South Alabama linebacker, former South Alabama linebacker. There's a lot of natural ties of him to Alabama because he played for Coach Womack or Womack.
I've heard that. Womack.
Is it Womack? I said Womack on another show. It was Village Vice, and Brad questioned me on it. So I don't know which one's right. I don't know.
Maybe it's you that's brought that to my attention.
Maybe. I don't know. But regardless, a lot of people are saying, hey, he's going to follow his former head coach. We'll see if that actually happens or not. I don't know. But he's visiting Auburn, Alabama, and Missouri. And so you can say whatever you want about the guy. That offer and visit list is pretty good. It's pretty good. So if they want him, that's certainly a guy you want on your roster. From a timing standpoint, it makes sense. Auburn is very old in the linebacker room. They're going to lose a bunch of guys to graduation to the NFL draft after this season. So part of your sales pitch on top of NIL is going to be playing time, maybe not this year, but in the future. And then, DJ Durkin, if you're a linebacker, you want to play for DJ Durkin. I don't think Auburn's fully out of this, like a lot of the recruiting media has made it out so far. What are your thoughts on Auburn's chances of landing Khalil Jacobs?
Well, anytime with this, new off-season portal staff player personnel deal we got going on, if they can get the first visit, watch out. And I know he's interested. I know that there's not necessarily a connection, but I know there's a desire to at least talk to DJ Durkin and hear how he fits, because Khalil's kind of one of those in-betweener type linebackers. And I think he could also play that star role with Auburn a little bit and get a little bit more, a little bit more featured action, I guess. And then on top of it, Auburn desperately needs some juniors. Auburn desperately need. We have I looked at the breakdown. You have 27 seniors. You have 35 either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. Do that math. And you only got 79 total people. So you have no juniors whatsoever. So you really need some people some older guys that can step up next year, the 2025 year, because that's the year you kind of feel like you can maybe make a run, but you have basically no seniors. So you're either going to have to get some guys in. You still got some spots left. Like I said, you got 79 scholarships. So I guess you got roughly 6 to spare. This is a guy they've targeted. They want to bring him in early, be the first visit. And I think there's some confidence there. I think there's some confidence that at least they can give a big shot and make, whoever's after have to really compete to outdo us. So I would love to add him.
You got to think there's a little bit of swag going on internally where it's we can get anybody. Why not us?
Got to feel confident. Why not?
Yeah, they're on a heater right now.
I agree with Lindsay. Womack, he left you, man. He left you. Why do you want to go play for the guy? I mean, can you depend on him? I mean, he just up and left you, and without much notice. I mean, can you really depend on that he's gonna, be real with you? Unless
we love you way more than he does.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people are saying Wesley Steiner. Is Wesley Steiner a name that Auburn fans should really consider right now? Of course, Wesley Steiner under the portal. He was committed to NC State. He is no longer committed.
You mean Cam Riley?
Yep. That's
Cam
exactly
Riley.
who I meant. That's exactly
Yeah.
who I meant. My apologies. Yeah, Cam Riley entered the portal, was committed to NC State. He's no longer. Do you think that's legitimate?
That he could come back, or that we should want him back?
That he could come back. People can want whatever they want. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything is. You know how Hugh has those lists? I wonder if going into the portal gets you right up to the top, right up to the top of the list. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
what if that even needs to be on a list? It's like, just a reminder, this guy entered the portal. Like, okay.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, man. With everything that's going on, I think you could probably make amends, and that's another body that you could probably use that could be a little bit more versatile than just playing, you know.
I mean, we've seen him take guys back. Who was it last year at linebacker? Powell Gordon, is that his name? That sounded weird saying it. I don't know if I've ever said his name before. I've just read it. And then
no, it existed.
And then who Brian Batty did it.
That's true.
In December. So I mean, we've seen them do this before. I don't think it would be the craziest thing.
He would only have, I think he'd only have 1 year left.
Right.
I'm pretty positive.
So if it's the whole thing about you need more juniors, then that kind of defeats the purpose. Unless they want to move him to Buck.
Yeah. I mean, he's big enough. He's like 6'5", too. I mean, he'd have to. I don't know. I really don't know. He's sort of a man without a position at Auburn, so it probably doesn't make a ton of sense to bring him back.
Yeah,
especially because he's only got 1 year, and then where's he going to play?
Right.
So
I'm with you.
Know.
That's just I've seen that name a lot, and I want to get your opinion on it. So.
Yeah, I don't really. I like Cam. He's from kind of the same area of the state that I grew up in, but I just, for whatever reason, it didn't work out, and I just don't know where he fits. I don't know where he fits in this defense for 1 year. He's got one more shot. I just don't.
Would you rather Cam Riley come back, or you play Monopoly Go some more?
I think I'd rather just roll the dice and play Monopoly some more. No, I'm kidding. I'd love if it were between those. I think I'd take Cam back. Yeah.
Oh man.
Put me on the spot. I don't know what I don't know what the correct answer is.
They're both great options. They're both great options.
True.
Oh man. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Absolutely. Find me on Twitter, _Charlie_5, and the Locked on Auburn Discord every single day, or today, or on Thursday on the Top Button Podcast, wherever you get a podcast.
Yep, that top button is buttoned. There's no question about it. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. This has been Locked on Auburn.